Experience spiritual. And what? In this natural experience. Every day. Show, show, show. You're not alone. Spiritual. Oh, show, show. Man, weather's coming. Changing. I say that Friday, hurt. People laughing to all over. Souldiers, let me feel you. Take a breath and take it up. Right here. Think something.
Welcome, y'all. Welcome. That's my song. That is Spiritual by Donald Lawrence and Company. Um, Welcome to tonight. This is my first live. I have been thinking about doing this for so long, but I'm such a in-person person that for me, it's important that oh wait, is somebody else on here? Because I can hear somebody else. Oh, that's my Zoom. I mean, that's my YouTube. So YouTube is lagging behind a little bit. So anyway, thank you all so much for joining tonight. This is my first live. I want to teach this. I teach metaphysics. I have been doing in-person classes, and I just felt it's just a shift that's happening and just going on in the universe and our world. I'm gonna talk about that. Just a little history. At first, we was doing something called Healed Cleveland. So you won't see Healed Cleveland at the top of those emails or announcements anymore. That's just to sort of introduce this next iteration. Healed Cleveland really came out of a desire and a need to address the deep issues that a lot of people have. It seems to be covering the city of Cleveland. And we kind of kicked this off around when there was a study done that said that Cleveland was like the most stressed city in all of the United States, which I can see that. We can see that. Like for those of us who have been on the ground, that have been working in community, like we absolutely see that Cleveland absolutely is probably the most stressed city for various reasons. And I know that the go-to is always like there's trending around mental health and therapy, which I'm a proponent of, right? If that's something that will support you and help you on your healing journey. But what I noticed and saw is that people need, there's a step above therapy, right? Um, Therapy deals with the mental state, but what I'm teaching in metaphysics deals with the mind state, the divine mind state, right? Which takes precedence over anything else. And so my role and my purpose, part of my purpose in this life is to give people the tools to heal themselves and to move from this place of being healed to be enlightened or illuminated, which is what welcome, y'all. Welcome. That's my song. That is okay. Spiritual by because now I can hear my YouTube, and I got to welcome to tonight. This is my first live. I have been thinking about doing this for so long, but I'm such a in-person person that for me, okay, that works. I fixed it. I just needed to mute it. Okay, so anyway, I'm gonna let me do the grounding first, and I'm going to read the Aramaic prayer. I'm gonna put it up on the screen. So if you want to read along, please do. Where did it go? Give me 1 second. Okay, there it is. Share the screen. Okay, here it is. This is the Aramaic prayer, which is the original Lord's Prayer. So if you have used or said the Lord's Prayer before, this is the version of it. It's actually the original version of the Lord's Prayer. The Lord's Prayer is a translated version into English. This is the Aramaic prayer, which says, O cosmic birther of all radiance and vibration, soften the ground of our being and carve out a space within us where your presence can abide. Fill us with your creativity so that we may be empowered to bear the fruit of your mission. Let each of our actions bear fruit in accordance with your desire. Endow us with the wisdom to produce and share what each being needs to grow and flourish. Untie the tangled threads of destiny that bind us as we release others from the entanglement of past mistakes. Do not let us be seduced by that which would divert us from our true purpose, but illuminate the opportunities of the present moment. For you are the ground and a fruitful vision, the birth, power, and fulfillment, as all is gathered and made whole once again. Amen. All right, and then I'm also going to, let me stop sharing. Why I can't find the, here it is. Okay, let me stop sharing. Let me record. Thank y'all for your patience. This is the first one that happens. Record to. Okay, so we did the grounding. So let me just jump in. Okay. Let me share a little bit about how I got here. I did talk a little bit about why we started Heal Cleveland, how we got to this. This is now called Unite the Light Ministries, right? So that'll be the last time that you see the Heal Cleveland logo. It was just the act of familiarity, so you all knew what I was talking about when I sent out the email. For me, though, personally, I've never been a religious person, and I'm not a religious person now. And it might seem like it or sound like it because like I played a gospel song, but really that gospel song is talking about our divinity and our spiritualness. It's not talking about any religion, right? I'm more of a spiritualist. I consider myself to be a healer. I consider myself to be a metaphysician. And we're going to talk a little bit about metaphysics itself and what that actually means. It's important for me to be able to share the information and share the knowledge to whomever is seeking higher knowledge because they want to get to a place of peace. They want to get to God's promises or the universe's promises, right? So let me share that so you understand what I mean when I say God's promise. So God promises us peace, balance, love, harmony, prosperity, protection, guidance, health, good health, health within itself means good health, wealth, abundance, success, and happiness. And if you were to look at these 12 things that are a part of God's promises, how many would you say that you have achieved? Have you achieved peace in your life, balance, love, harmony, prosperity, protection, guidance, health, wealth, abundance, success, happiness? Most individuals, most humans would say that maybe they've achieved half. Probably not. I would guess that maybe people feel like they've only achieved 3, and it's very possible to get to those places in your life, regardless of what's going on in the physical reality. And that's where metaphysics comes in, because metaphysics is all about the spiritual truth, despite your physical reality, right? You have to have eyes that see beyond what's in front of you. You have to have ears that hear beyond what is being said to you. That is a part of how we imagine what it is that we want in our lives, is us ignoring a lot of times our physical reality, because it takes some time for the physical reality to catch up with the spiritual truth. But everything occurs in the spirit first. So the spirit is here, right? Up here. And the physical reality is down here. And the spirit, we call that the 5D. That's Christ's consciousness. That's the highest level of consciousness that you can reach. And then the 3D, the physical reality, is what we see around us, that we can touch, that we can taste, we can smell. So working on our spiritual being, our spiritual health, if our spiritual health is well, then our physical reality will become well. If you understand metaphysics, then You can heal yourself. You can create riches in your life. If you are spiritually wealthy, you will eventually become physically wealthy. Now, that doesn't mean that the people that you see out here now, just because they have physical wealth and physical money, that doesn't necessarily mean that they are spiritually wealthy, because there are two ways that you can get wealthy. You can get wealthy through the spiritual way first, which is long lasting and sustainable, or you can get wealthy just by doing a skill or doing a job, but eventually you will become bankrupt if your spirit is bankrupt. So it's important to fill up on a spirit in order for you to reach those God's promises. And that's whatever your heart desires, whatever it is that you want in your life, whatever you see for yourself, but not from a material standpoint. What does peace look like for you in your life? What does balance look like? What does love? What does protection? What does guidance look like for you in your life? Those are the things that you want to fill up, right? And so when I talked about before how I'm not religious, I'm very spiritual, and I'm making that declaration because in my classes, I use a lot of scripture from the Bible, but I also pull some stuff from Buddha, right? And I'm also pull some stuff from Rumi. And I also pull some stuff from a lot of these different books that I read, or just information that I read, because I'm a nerd. I literally spend my time reading and writing for the most part, day in and day out. I can't get enough of this. I'm so consumed with this work because this is me being about my father's business, our father's business, God's business. So whether you say God or universe, higher power, Allah, Jehovah, I'm speaking to all people, no matter what your religion is, no matter what your denomination is, no matter really what it is that you believe in. If you believe in a higher power, then I'm speaking to you. And it doesn't matter what religion that you belong to. I can go to a Christian church. I can go to any type of church. It doesn't matter for me, because the message really is all of the same. The message really is all about you. Even the Bible is the best, is one of the best, but I would probably say the best self-help book. But we don't look at the Bible as a self-help book because we read the Bible very literal. I desire to teach people the metaphysical meaning of the Bible, to see beyond the words, to hear beyond what is being said. That's the magic of metaphysics. And just to make it a little bit more relatable, when I say meta, with meta is a prefix. So Facebook has now turned into Meta, right? Facebook, Instagram, all of the things that Mark Zuckerberg he uses, well, that he owns, is now called Meta. And Meta just means beyond, beyond. So apparently he's sending a message saying that he wants to go beyond Facebook, or beyond just this social network, which Facebook was initially created to be. But we've seen Facebook evolve over time, and it's not just a social network now, right? Now you got marketplace on there. You could pretty much do anything on Facebook now. You could sell your car, you can buy a house, you could do so many things that are beyond what Facebook was originally created for. So when we talk about metaphysics, metaphysics just means looking beyond the physical, looking beyond what we see in front of us, so that we see clearly through things, through people, and you can look at them from not this physical standpoint. Like when they say don't judge a book by its cover, it's looking beyond who these people are, right? Like, can you see the Christ in them? Can you see the good in them? And again, Christ is associated with a particular religion. However, Christ really just means it's a title. So we say Jesus Christ, but really he was Jesus the Christ, meaning anybody and everybody has the potential to acquire Christ's consciousness. In other words, to get to a point of consciousness that Jesus was at. And Jesus was one of the greatest metaphysicians of all times. And this has been apparently controversial within Christian ideology. I really don't know because, again, I don't belong to a religion. I just know what resonates with me. And when I read things that resonate with me, that's enough for me. I don't have to belong to a denomination. But I will show up to church on Sunday because I just appreciate the message and I can see beyond what is being read and I can hear beyond what is being said. And in order to do that, it is a practice. It is a day in, a day out practice. And this has to be something that you're interested in. It's like doing birth work, right? For those who know me, I have been a doula for years and built a doula-based organization. I didn't just go out and just hire anybody because they needed a job as a doula. It was a lot of women who would come to me and be like, "Oh, I want to do this. How much y'all pay?" You leading with that, I don't want you, right? Because this is to be a birth worker, to be a doula is something that you have to be called to do. Because when that mother called you at 3 o'clock in the morning, you got to get up and you got to go. And you got to do so happily and willingly, right? So this work, Unite the Light, is for those who want to seek themselves. And in seeking yourself, you are seeking God. And my job is to help guide those people, to guide the light workers, to guide the soldiers, Souldiers, to guide the soldiers to their highest potential so that the light workers and the soldiers are confident and they have the courage to step out completely in the light because the light is what is needed right now. We see so much that's happening in our world and we think to ourselves like, oh, well, we'll wait on God to do it. Not understanding that God is expressed through you. You are the channel to which God has chosen for you to express itself and support the healing of our communities, neighborhoods, states, the nation, the world. And so part of my job is to give you the information that you need so that you feel ready to embark on what it truly means to be about your father's business. And some people, it's people on here who might not know me, but one of the things that I definitely always say is that I work for God. That's my only employer, because God is the supply of everything else. God is the supply of the job that you have, the money that you have, the house that you live in, the car that you drive in, the opportunity that's just been presented to you. There is only one source of all of that, of anything that you have, your health, your good health, that's coming from the creator. That idea that you got, that download that you got, that came from the creator, that came from the one true source. And so when you get those divine ideas, it's being expressed through you. Your job is to take that divine idea and to bring it into fruition. And that's where this work really comes in at. This work really comes in on, let me try to, okay, I hope it stopped. Yeah. Um, this work comes in where therapy leaves off at, right? Where you can't get this sort of counsel or advice or things from your friends, maybe from your family, maybe, and maybe not even from your therapist. This is where you come when you are in need of soul surgery. Some people need soul surgery, and some people just need a little sip of soul water. But whatever it is to help you get in alignment with who you are, what you are here to do, and that you have the confidence and the courage to do it, because it takes a lot of confidence and courage to step out on faith, for one, to trust the higher power. Because jokingly, I always say that we say, Jesus take the wheel, but when it comes down to it, do you really let Jesus, which Jesus is our brother in Christ, but do you let God take the wheel? Most times, no. Most times we want to be in control because ultimately we always think that we know better, and so it's us, instead of us stopping and listening to our hearts, listening to our intuition, and choosing to pause until we get the insight and the download and the inspired action to move forward, we'll try to take it upon ourselves to try to make all these decisions. And by the time you done wore yourself out and you still don't have a solution to your problem. But if you allowed yourself the time to wait, be patient, allow it to come to you, be okay with uncertainty, have no doubt, trust, faith, then the answer will come to you, because you are the problem, but you are also the solution. So you create the problem and the solution will come to you, but you have to have the space and allow yourself to do that. So why this ministry, and why right now? And I say this ministry because I named this Unite the Light, a metaphysical ministry. So for one, the reason why it's called Unite the Light, because the light stands for the light workers, right? And who are the light workers? The light workers are those who have awakened spiritually. And not any of this woke thing, this woke stuff, because being woke, that's a worldly thing that we have created to say, like, oh, we know the truth. We waking up to the truth. But the way that that movement has gone, it has completely did the opposite. So when I say awakening, I mean a spiritual awakening. I mean an awakening to where you can feel this down in your bones. If you think about it hard enough or long enough, you can cry. You know what I mean? It's a expression of gratitude. It's looking at everything around you and saying, like, wow, I am so blessed. Even if you in your physical reality, it's not, it doesn't look necessarily how you want it to, but it's still you practicing and being grateful for all of the experiences that you have had, good, bad, or indifferent. Why is that important? Because that is you saying, like, you know what? I'm going to be still and know that you are God. Because that means that everything happened. And I know it's cliche, everything happens for a reason, but it does happen for a reason. And just because you don't know what that reason is right away, don't mean that there's no reason. It'll eventually come to you. And if you allow it to play out, and if you keep seeking and you keep trusting, you can reach what I'm going to call on this call heaven on earth. And we don't think that that's possible because we look at the state of our world, and we look at the state of our nation, and we look at the state of our community, and we say, like, oh, that's crazy talk. You can't have heaven on earth. Look at all of these people and all this death and violence and all of that. But guess what? What we see in the physical reality is just a reflection of who we are internally. So if we believe and look at our environment and say, oh, it's chaotic. I don't want to be down here in the hood, and I don't want to, the chaos that we see in our world is just a reflection of our own internal chaos. That's the only way our physical reality can be chaotic, is if we are chaotic inside. And so the work is inside. The work is, how do I turn my internal chaos into divine order? Because the only person that you can change is yourself. But as a light worker, as you move through your journey of light working, and really means that you are just following the light, you following the good. You are not trying to get over on people. You're kind, you're nice. You're not gossiping. You're not, trying to bring nobody down. You mindful of what you say. You're kind, and you use nice words, even when somebody is being terrible towards you, that you still hold the power to say, you know what? I don't know what's going on with you, but I'm not going to take that personal, because you calling me on my name or you saying what you saying don't have anything to do with me. That's something that you got going on with you. So I'm not going to entertain that, because I know better. As a light worker, you know better. And so the spaces that I tend to create are for those people who know that they're light workers, or for those people who are interested in what light working is. And just as I explained about the doulas and how it's something that you have to be called to do, light worker is something that you have to be called to be, although it's possible for all of us because we were all born in light. You know, when we came out of the womb, we were 100% light. And then the world got to us and said, no, you need to be this way. And we need to put you in this box. And we need to put you here. And you got to do this. And we need you to be like this. And so the world just continued to shrink you and shrink you and shrink you and teach you to dim your light. And so Unite the Light is about you coming back to your full lightness, and a membership program that I'll talk about at the end called the Journey to 98%, that 98% representing a pretty high level of consciousness, a pretty high level of you being of the light and understanding what the light is and understanding that you are not responsible for saving anybody, that your light alone, your presence alone as a light worker is enough to heal, is enough to help, is enough to support, so that you're not running around like, oh, look, I'm a light worker. Let me tell you, let me help you. You don't need to do all of that, right? Just your presence alone is how powerful your light working abilities is. And this is important because the divine law of oneness, which that'll be a later class when I talk about the divine laws, but the divine law of oneness, which is the first divine law, talks about how separation is an illusion. So when you say like, oh, them people over there and that's happening over there, and so we don't tend to concern ourselves with anything that's happening without outside of our immediate circle, not understanding that if we don't speak up and speak out, then that problem that those people over there are facing will eventually show up at your doorstep, because separation is an illusion. There is no separation. We all are one. So when something happens to one of us, it happens to all of us. And so we are being called at this particular moment of time. I don't know. Do y'all feel the shift? Because I've been feeling the shift. Not only have I been feeling the shift, I have been seeing the shift as well. I've been witnessing the shift. I have been witnessing changes in what we consider to be chaos and chaotic. And we're like, oh, we don't know what's going on. And there's so much fear because people just are just so fearful because they're so fearful of change. People are so fearful of change, and change is not something that you need to be fearful of. It's actually something that you should rejoice in, because nothing stays the same. We die 1,000 times. We die 1,000 times while we are alive. Every day is a new day. Every day is a new day. And being present, staying present, and understanding that you are one with everything and everybody around you is an important part of your journey, your light working journey and ability. And so this shift that we are experiencing in the atmosphere, tomorrow is the blood moon in Virgo, I believe. Is it Virgo? I don't know, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but it's in Virgo. And so because it's in Virgo, Virgo, I don't want to say necessarily because it's a Virgo. The blood moon is an eclipse that's happening. And this is planetary alignment, right? See, I told y'all I'm not religious. I'm not religious because a lot of religions don't entertain astrology and numerology. And the funny thing is, astrology and numerology is all up in the Bible, and that's a whole nother class. But all of these things work together. Why do we think that God would create the sun and the moon and the stars, and they don't have nothing to do with us? But we are all one, and there is no separation. In the same vein that God created the sun and the moon and the stars, God created us from the same thing. So why would we shun or look down on the sun and the moon and the stars? Because that's essentially what astrology is the sun and moon and the stars. And it's people that study that. That's called astronomy. but to actually interpret it in a way to apply it into everyday life is astrology. And it's something that is a part of metaphysics. So it's something that I'm interested in, because I make the connection and get into that in another class. But astrology can literally tell you what you are here to do on this earth at this particular time. It's called your North Node. And if you understood what your North Node was, you probably wouldn't be working a job that you hate, because you would have a better understanding of what you are actually here to do. Now, even that journey takes some time. When you understand, even when you are equipped with that information, that journey still takes some time to unfold, because we have been so conditioned by these worldly things or the shrinking of our light that we doubt our abilities. We doubt our talents. We doubt what we were put on this earth to do. And so I hope to help those who are ready and those who wanted to awaken in a way that supports their spiritual growth and ultimately their physical development, right? So what happens in the spirit happens in the physical, but the spirit comes first and the physical follows. So you have to take care of the spirit first. All right. So the light workers, soldiers, and judges. And let me go to YouTube to see if, let me stop sharing. And let me go to YouTube. You see the shift? Okay, I see some people saying that they see the shift. Yes, amen. See the shift. So, all right. So I explained a little bit about light workers and soldiers. It's pretty much the same thing. But I came across the book of Judges. And I didn't just come across this. My mother had been talking to me about the book of Judges. I'm not that familiar with the Bible, to be quite honest. I'm at a very early stage of learning the Bible, reading the Bible. I certainly go to the Bible to like pick out certain scriptures that resonate with me, but I'm starting to get more familiar with it. And the Bible will become, well, and it is a part of my ministry because it's such a good reference. So anyway, my mother was talking to me about the book of Judges, and she was saying how like it was all of this craziness that was happening at the time, and that it was the judges that restored divine order. And it made me interested, and I said, well, let me go look at the metaphysical interpretation of the book of Judges. And so what I discovered was basically that the judges are us. We are the judges. The judges were appointed, or God raised up the judges, is what the scripture says. Meaning these are just regular, normal, everyday people. And these are just normal, everyday people. Is my Facebook Live? I'm sorry. I don't see my Facebook Live up, and I don't know why. Oh, okay. I see it. It is. It do say it's live. I don't know why it's not saying that on my actual thing, but it is saying that I'm live. It says restart streaming, stop streaming. Am I currently streaming? I think I'm currently streaming, right? I don't know. All right. Anyway, so in the book of Judges, in the metaphysical meaning of the book of Judges, it's saying that God raised up the judges. And I was interested because I was like, well, how did God choose the judges? You know, this is not the court appointed judges that we're thinking of, right? But the only qualifiers that deemed regular people as judges was that they had a metaphysical mind, meaning that they could see beyond, they can see beyond, and they could hear beyond, right? And it takes some time to get to that place, right? But if you have the ability to see beyond meta and hear beyond, then that makes you a judge. And when we say judge and judgment, don't think of it as if you are judging people, right? This judge in this sense means to put up a boundary, to say to people, hey, I see your hurt, I see your pain, I see your suffering, but I cannot allow you to project that pain, that hurt, that suffering onto others. And so a boundary has to be put into place. So how does that translate to today and to now, and why this ministry in particular is so important? Because we see the state of our world, we see the state of our community. I'm literally right now in a fight. I'm gonna just say that. And I don't really want to call it a fight. I'm just saying it in that sense without like having to say exactly what it is. I'll save that story for another class. But the point is, we have to stand up for injustice. When we see injustice, the light workers are charged with standing up and putting a boundary in place to say, no, you cannot be the leader of this city because you are not being a good leader. You're not being a good steward of the trust that people have, well, that the people have entrusted you with. You're not being a good steward of that. You aren't being a good steward of the resources that has been entrusted to you by the people, right? Because again, you have to look at people in the sense of like most people are working from a place of some sort of trauma or pain, right? And so let's say that their trauma is they was bullied when they was kids. So they have a trauma of not belonging, right? And so then as adults, when they see a group of people who they want to belong to, they're willing to do anything to belong to that group of people, right? And so that means going against their higher judgment. That means going against their higher selves. When your higher self is saying, you know what, you probably shouldn't make that decision. That's probably not a good thing to do. But you want to belong to this group and these people so bad that they tell you like, yeah, man, it's okay. Just skim a little bit off the top. You know what I'm saying? Want nobody know. And so you go against your better judgment because you want to belong. See, that's trauma. And we can't have people in leadership who come from that place of trauma, right? And that's just one example, right? You could have grew up and had a low self-esteem. People, you know, your people, family, friend, peers, whatever could have made you feel less than, made you feel unwanted. You could have a history of abuse. You could have a history of being neglected. All of these traumas play out in people as adults. Do we think that this just goes away, you know, because we get older? No, these adults go on, they go to college or they pick up a skill and then they get into positions. And a lot of times those positions be in positions of leadership. So what are the rest of us as people and citizens are supposed to do? Allow you to make decisions on behalf of everybody, though you are still sitting with that unhealed trauma within yourself. So it is the light workers, the soldiers, the judges who have to rise up to say, you're not fit for that role. You need to go heal. You need to come to a Unite the Light Ministries class or whatever that space is. Whatever that space is, you need to go heal that. Because until you heal that, you are just going to project your need to belong, you being overlooked, you not feeling good enough. You're just going to project that on to others. You're going to project that in the decisions that you make. You're not even going to make sound decisions because your trauma brain is pulling you to belong. You know, to be spiritually stoic means to have grounding to where it's no matter what's going on in the physical, that you can't be bought. Because I always say, if you can be bought, you can be sold, right? But you have to have a sense of integrity, a sense of character. And if you are still on your healing journey, which most of us are, right? You are aware that you are on your healing journey, right? And that you are actively doing something about it, right? And so until you get to a place to where you are even aware, you will be surprised at the number of people who are walking around here that lack self-awareness. They're not even aware of their own existence. They're not even aware that they're not aware of their own feelings. They aren't aware of how they interface with others. They just walking around just like, oh yeah, yeah, let me run for this office. And then you get into this office and you wreaking havoc on everybody else because you are unhealed. And so the judges, light workers, soldiers are those that come in and say like, nope, we can't allow you to do that. We can't because it's too important. And how are the children, right? Because I know for sure right now in our city, the school district is failing and it's been failing for a very long time. So we keep electing people who are unhealed and then they go in and they make the same decisions as the previously unhealed leaders. And so it's up to the light workers and the soldiers and the judges to step up and step into those positions, into those roles. We can no longer leave it up to the unhealed to make decisions on behalf of the collective because we see the result. And if this is the physical reality that you want to see for yourself, your children, your grandchildren, then by all means, do nothing. Be like a lot of the other people who do nothing, who see this and do nothing, who because they don't have the courage to speak up and speak out. And I know firsthand how hard it is to be the only one to speak up and speak out. Because once you speak up and speak out, you have to know that you're going to be on that truth train by yourself. Because everybody going to want to go run and hide and tuck their tail because that's what they've been conditioned to do. So you have to have the spiritual strength. And that's a part of why this ministry is important. Unite the Light is important because you have to develop spiritual strength to be a light worker, to be a soldier, to be a judge, because you cannot be moved. You won't be able to be moved. No one could be able to move you. No one should be able to come to you and say, hey, you know what? I'm gonna give you this $50,000 contract or this $100,000 contract, and you know, and you know, and trying to do that in a way to where now you don't have no voice because they done bought you. They done bought you with this contract. So now you was scared to say something and speak up because then you're like, oh, I ain't gonna be able to feed my family. But see, that's you forgetting who your supplier is. When you take that money and it silences you, you are saying that that money is your God. You are saying that whoever offered you that contract is your God. Now that's what blasphemy means. When we talk about, I don't know, again, I ain't no Christian, but I know that the Christian sense of blasphemy and sin is different from what I'm talking about. Blasphemy is you forgetting who your God is, who your true God is, and you accepting in exchange for something that you know demeans your character, that you know demeans your integrity. And when you demean your character and when you demean your integrity, you essentially are demeaning God, because then God is not able to express itself through you because you have been bought. And so you have to be careful because, again, if you could be bought, you could be sold. We are co-creators of God. We are co-creators. So it's us and it's God, but then we are one. The Father and I are one. And so you get the divine download and idea because you have to remember that you're spirit first. You are a spiritual being first, and you happen to be a human. And if you have a pet, a cat or a dog, they are a spiritual being first, and they happen to be a dog or they happen to be a cat. So you have to first know and understand and embody that you are a spiritual being first and foremost. And that has to be the way in which you move about this world. That means having divine authority and spiritual mastery. And again, that takes practice. That takes prayer. That takes meditation. That takes affirmations. You have to be saying this every day to yourself. You have to remind yourself of your divinity every day and every step of the way. You have to, because it's easy to forget. Oh, we're so easily distracted as humans. We're so easily distracted as humans, and we forget who we are. But we have come to a time and a place in history that we can no longer afford to forget who we are, because the continuation of who we are means that we are not creating a better place and space for our children and our grandchildren and those who come after. So if you can't muster it up to do it for yourself, do it for your future. But you should be able to muster up the courage to do it for yourself, because you are important as well. You are a divine being as well, and you do deserve all of God's promises if that's what you want. And if that's not what you want, this is not the room for you. This is not the ministry for you. Because I'm only talking to people who do want that, who do want to reach God's promises, and who are willing to put in the individual spiritual soul work in order to align themselves with God's promises. So again, hey, metaphysical ministry, the study of the unseen reality that governs the physical world. We already went over there and over that. It's the bridge between the divine mind and the physical manifestation. Again, everything begins in the divine mind first. This table that I'm sitting at, this was somebody's idea first. It didn't just appear and drop out of the sky. Somebody said, man, it'd be nice if we have somewhere to actually put our plates on or be able to work on. And somebody said, wow, how can we make that? And they took the inspired action to make that and to create that, right? So any insight, downloads that you get comes from a higher power. It comes from a higher power. And then your job is to focus and channel that and create it in the physical, right? No matter what that is. So all of those dreams that you have that's sitting on your heart that you haven't embarked on yet, go embark on them, right? You are being called to do that. Anytime the divine sends you a vision, you need to go write it down. You might not know, you might not get all of it at once. In fact, it never happens where you get it all at once. If you get it all at once, tell me, because I ain't never had that happen. And maybe it don't happen to me. It might happen to others. I would like to hear that. But when you get that idea, then that's what you want to do. You want to take that divine idea and you want to write it down, and you need to do whatever work that's necessary on yourself to make that, to bring that into fruition. Why? Because you bring it into fruition is how you be of service to others. The rent, and I don't remember, I want to say it was John Henry Clark. I'll double check who said this, but who said service is the rent that we pay for being on this earth, for taking up space on this earth. We rent the space on earth by being of service. That's how we pay, right? And so being of service can come in many different forms, but one of those forms is you actually taking that divine idea and bringing it into the physical reality so that other people get to experience what God expressed through you. How beautiful is that? Okay, so we must be about our Father's business. I talked about that. That's a story about Jesus and when his mother was coming to look for him, after they had lost him, basically, or they thought that they had lost him, and they was on their way back home, and Jesus was still in Jerusalem. And so they all backtracked to go look for Jesus. And when they found him, he was in the temple. And his mother came in and she basically was like, hey, what you doing in here? Like, we've been looking for you. Like, we done went back home. You wasn't on the wagon with us. We done had to come back to Jerusalem. What you doing? Well, he was in the temple. And he turned around and told his mother, like, why are you looking for me? Like, you know where I'm at. I'm about my Father's business. Like, he's saying it like, Duh, of course I'm in the temple. I'm about my Father's business. I'm in here talking to the masters. I'm learning from the masters. They're learning from me. Everything that I do is about the Father's business. Like, you didn't have to worry about me. You knew where I was at. You know what I'm doing at all times. At all times, you can be assured that I'm being about my Father's business. So I'm cool. All right. So what made him such this master metaphysician is that, of course, he had reached Christ consciousness, but he did teach metaphysics. He taught manifestation, divine law, and I won't say most importantly, but one of the more important things is the power of faith. It's faith. Faith is knowing without knowing. Faith is more than hope, more than inspiration, but it's the knowing, like, this is gonna happen. I trust this. No, I don't see the physical evidence of it yet, but it's coming, right? It's the faith, and you have to hold on to that faith, and you have to practice having faith, because as we all as humans have been through, it's been times in our life where things didn't go the way that we think they should went, and other things happened and came up, and we somewhere like, man, like, is it gonna work out for me? And we doubting, and sometimes we even give up because we like, oh, it's not gonna happen. And trust, be still and know it is going to happen, because it's what you are manifesting. It is what you're desiring. So I heard something so powerful the other day that said, anytime you have a desire, that means that it's already done. The desire itself means it's done. If you can feel it and you can see it, that means it's already done. So from that moment, you just have the faith, because you know that it's done. So as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Ask and it shall be given to you. Now, how do metaphysics affect every part of our lives? It's healing through divine alignment. You can manifest perfect health. A lot of people might not believe that they can heal themselves, but when you go to the doctor, you have to tell them what's wrong with you first before they can go and look. So you already know where you might be feeling some of the pain or whatever that unrest is. If you know and you have the knowing and the faith, it's so many people. A lot of people, like, for instance, this church that I've been visiting is called the Living Truth Center. And it was founded by Reverend Dr. Johnny Coleman. Okay, 50 years ago. Well, she had overcome illness, and I don't know which illness it was, but it was an illness that could have killed her, right? But she overcame the illness, and that's what brought her into creating this this empire of churches, is because she healed herself. And she like, wow, I need to go out and tell people that healing yourself is possible, right? And then when we think about what we might know about Jesus as Jesus the healer, he essentially was telling people that they could heal themselves. This is how a faith healer works. And the story where the woman says, if I could just touch the hem of his garment, right? It's just his presence. Jesus could see beyond them. So when people said to him, like, oh, this man is blind or this woman is sick, he's speaking to them. He's speaking to the healed version of them. He's like, you're not sick, you're well, you're healed. You're healed. Like, there's nothing too big, too impossible, too out of reach for my Father. Like, you're not sick. You're not sick. You have to allow the spiritual truth to catch up with the physical reality. And if you do fall sick, then you have to ask yourself, to some degree, which a lot of sickness and illness comes from what? Stress. It absolutely comes from stress a lot of times. Anger. Suppressed. It's just you getting to a place of hopelessness, helplessness. Most illnesses come from some of those aspects. You not forgiving yourself. Ooh, the lack of forgiveness is a big one. A lot of people are sick because they can't forgive, because they haven't figured out how to forgive. And believe me, That is a task, but that's a part of what these classes are for, because I'll teach you how to completely forgive where it's not, it's not bothering me at all. I've gotten over that. I've forgiven that person, because really it's you that you need to forgive. But yeah, do you need to forgive other people? Yeah. And then you get to a place where you understand and realize that there's nothing to forgive. There's not even anything to forgive. So I've been talking. It's 7:26. Let me read some of these comments. Say, I see it. And yes, I've been saying this for a few years. It's time. It happens in every lifetime. Spiritually stoic. That's goals. Be yourself or by yourself. I thought I said be yourself. Why, whether say be yourself, by yourself, let me tell you something. Authenticity is the highest vibration. It's the highest vibration. But the problem is that we don't know how to be ourselves, and society has absolutely conditioned us to not be ourselves. Remember, I said that when you born, you are 100% light, and then everybody starts to come in to diminish your light. So they tell you not to do this, not to be like stand in line. You got to get over here. You need to be like them. And so, in our quest to want to belong, because as humans, we want to belong. We being in community and connection is a very natural, normal thing for us. So when you have a fear of being outcasted or not belonging, the insecurity in you will make you do whatever it takes to belong. And that stems from needing to heal a feeling that you're not enough. I don't need to belong to anything. I don't not if it's going to compromise my integrity. Not if it's going to compromise my authenticity, then that's not a space that I want to be in. If I can't be myself, then I don't want to be there. I don't want to be with people around people that I can't be myself with. I don't want to go to a job where I can't be myself. I can't do that. What is the trade-off? What is the trade-off? I get to not be myself, and y'all get to pay me $60,000 a year, $100,000 a year. I don't care if it's $1 million a year. There's not enough money that's going to convince me that I can't be myself. I love myself too much. What's wrong with who I am? There's nothing wrong with who I am. Who I am should not be of no offense to you, right? I mean, it's different if I'm coming in and I am offending people, if I'm intentionally, but generally, no, who does that? You're not going in trying to hurt people and tear people down unless you are unhealed, unless you've got some things that you need to heal within yourself. Other than that, no, you don't need to be worried about what people think of you. That's a really big thing, to where we don't come out of our shells because we are too busy thinking about what other people think of us. And you don't need anybody's validation, right? This spiritual growth, the journey to 98%, is you learning not to give a shit about what other people think about you. Because why would you care what other people think about you when the vast majority of people are operating out of fear? They're operating on a very low vibration, low consciousness. Why would you care what people who are operating at a low vibration think about you? Why would you care about people who are being inauthentic? Why would you care about the people who are being inauthentic, what they think about you being authentic? They're not even being themselves. So why would you pay attention to what they think about you being yourself? If anything, they wish that they could be themselves. They're looking at you like, I really don't like you because I'm lightweight hating on you because you can be yourself and I can't. But that's false. They can be themselves. You just have to have the courage to be yourself. And the way that you come to be yourself is by knowing yourself and knowing who you are. If you are confident in who you are, then you won't have any problem being yourself. It's only when you aren't confident in who you are that don't become, you don't be yourself. So this work is about really that journey of becoming yourself. If you have any questions, please drop them in the comments. I don't know how I'm gonna do this on Facebook because this Facebook live chat is not coming up on here. It's all good. I'm gonna have to do this a little different next week. This is my first one, so I'm learning as I go along. Please don't judge me. But yeah, so if you have questions though, drop it down in the YouTube box. And I already talked about creating heaven on earth. So let me just go over my notes though, in case I did miss something. I said we are divine creators. Everything begins in the imagination, right? I wrote a article where I was talking about the divine nature of intellectual property. And I'm big on protecting your intellectual property, protect your intellectual property, okay? Go get them trademarks, go get them copyrights, go get them patents, go protect your intellectual property, right? Because people do steal, okay? When you got a divine idea and they aren't connected to source to get divine ideas, they will try to steal your divine idea. So go get everything that you need to make that happen. But the point of the article was so that you understand the divine nature of intellectual property, right? Your intellectual property is a seed that was planted in you from the divine, right? And if you have the courage and the confidence and the knowing and the trust and the faith to take that seed and bring that seed into fruition, and that seed that you brought into fruition is of some sort of service, divine service to others, you need to protect it. You need to protect it because that is something that you co-created with God. That's something that you and God made a covenant with. Whatever you create, that's the covenant that was made between you and God, and it can never be separated from you because it was co-created, right? And so protect your stuff, even though can't nobody really steal from you. Everything will be returned to sender. However, the divinity of it, the divinity of it is what's important and important for you to understand. So taking divine ideas and making them a physical reality. If we can imagine it, we can create it. We have the ability to manifest health, love, peace, and abundance. And why most people struggle to imagine a world without suffering? Uh, why do people, why do most people struggle to imagine a world without suffering? Because they don't think that it's possible. They don't think that it's possible. And it is very possible. It's beyond possible. But you only can see as far as your you can only see as far as your own perspective and experience, right? So you might feel like heaven on earth can't be achieved. That's a pessimistic view, but it might be your reality because you have some spiritual suffering that you still have to clean up and take care of. Heaven on earth is a state of consciousness, to be clear. Heaven on earth is a state of consciousness. Meaning it's not a place, it's a frequency. It's a frequency, it's a vibration. I use a lot of these words interchangeably. Frequency, vibration, consciousness. It all means the same thing, right? So heaven on earth is not a place, it's a frequency. But we can bring heaven down on earth through alignment and creation. So how do you become aligned? How do you get aligned? How do you get aligned? I want to ask for those who are on, where do you see yourself in this awakening? You know, I didn't outline stages necessarily, but if we were to say there were some stages in this awakening, like where are you in that awakening? Where are you um where are you in that process? Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive those that trespass as you forgive those that trespass against us. But somebody said that kingdom come. Yeah, because it's absolutely possible. A quick plug. Please share, send this to somebody who needs it. If you need the encouragement, if you need the upliftment, if you need the empowerment, please share it. I'm doing something completely new, something completely out the box, because I am absolutely used to doing in-person stuff. I'm used to teaching in person. Everything that I've done generally is in person, and I've been putting off going online, even though I know that that's the next evolution. That's the next step for me. And so I'm here. It's easier for me. I have more time to prepare. Um, I have to get over some sort of technological humps in terms of streaming. And, I want people to be able to come on and ask questions. So I got to figure that part out. I did in my initial email to everybody, I did put out the Zoom link, but I want to reserve the Zoom link for people who want to come on and ask questions. And so that way you can get on Zoom with me just like this, and you ask your question, and then then you go out, right? Just so it's only like one-to-one. And I think that that's very important, because I can talk about this stuff all day long, but what does it mean until you actually put it into practice? And so when people are asking questions, then they are asking questions that a lot of other people have too, and so I like the talking piece because I'm a teacher and that's what I do. But I love the engagement and the interaction. And I always, want to make sure that it absolutely feels conversational. So, um, I mean, I think I can drop the link in on YouTube, but I don't know in the comments if it'll like ding it and like kind of click the link. I think that what I'm going to do then is like use a waiting room. Like if you have a question, then I'll put you in a waiting room, and then when that time comes, you can come up and you can ask your question live. Okay, I think I like that. I just worked that out. See the divine mind, the divine idea, divine mind working. Let me check back on YouTube, and I might have to do this the other way around. So I say I have awakened. I'm polishing my nervous system to handle more stress so I can do my job on. Man, amen. I'm glad that you said that about your nervous system too, because your nervous system has a lot to do with your system. I don't even say a lot. Your nervous system got everything to do with how you view life. Your nervous system determines if you are stuck in fight, flight, or freeze mode. Okay, if you ever heard of fight and flight and freeze, your nervous system has everything to do with anxiety, with fear, because the vast majority of people are operating out of fear, and your nervous system has everything to do with that. And if you don't regulate your nervous system, it's going to be hard for you to reach those higher levels of consciousness. Because in the back of your mind, you're going to still have this feeling of fear or worry or anxiety. And all that means is that you don't trust. It means that you don't trust. Now, there's divinity, and then there is real life. Nobody is saying that you should not be alert and aware. You absolutely should. But when I tell you, as your consciousness rises, you will be absolutely forewarned before anything happens that's amiss, right? And a lot of y'all can attest to that already now, right? You have certainly been in situations to where you were made aware of the danger before the danger occurred. That's your intuition. And so the divine is always looking out for you, even if you haven't gained the ability to see or the ability to hear yet. The divine loves you so much that is going to protect you, even when you're in a position where you can't maybe even physically protect yourself, right? But the key is to tune in and hear it. And when you act on your intuition, it gives the divine permission to give you more intuition, more insights, more downloads. But you have to be trusted with those insight downloads. Are you putting this into action? Is this the thing that you're doing? You know, that's important. So yes, thank you for bringing that up about the nervous system, because that nervous system piece is so important to our overall healing and our overall journey to the 98%, because for me, all roads lead back to the journey to 98%. And I'll talk, this might be the appropriate time to talk about it. So all roads, everything that I do, all roads lead back to the journey to 98%. The journey to 98% represents, let me tell you what the 98% represents. Ooh, I'm so happy that I get to use this. Okay, let me show y'all. Wait, where is it? Let me take this off. Oh, so I have a remarkable one of these things. And when I tell you, I'm so happy that I can do whiteboard on here where I can, it's gonna come up. It say waiting for Wi-Fi connection. What's going on? Give me a second. 1 second, please. Why is it saying it's waiting for Wi-Fi connection? What's going on? It is connected. Don't play with me. Okay. Oh, there we go. There we go. Yes. Okay. Wait, let me share that again because I want to make sure. Okay, it's sharing right. Here we go. Okay. So the Journey to 98% is a online membership that will launch next week. Today is just a soft launch. So I didn't even send this out to everybody. I didn't flood people inboxes with this for tonight. This was kind of like my practice run. It's a soft launch. Thank you all who are coming out. I'm about to wrap up because this ends at 8 o'clock. So the Journey to 98%. I'm so happy that I have a whiteboard, y'all, because I really like to write and talk. Okay. Oh, I forgot that I did make that red. I changed that back. There we go. Okay. So I teach this in all of my classes. Long story short, study was done. NASA, it's called the NASA study. It's literally the NASA study. And they went to study these kids. It had to do with them building spaceships, and they wanted people who thought outside of the box, who did not think like everybody else because they were building something that hadn't been created, right? So two researchers, they followed these kids from the ages of 4 to 5 on up to adulthood because they were interested in their creative genius. So they had them take this test at these different stages in their lives to test their creative genius. Now, understand what creative genius is. Creative genius also means God's source energy. It also means your higher consciousness. It also means your divine self. it also means your God-like self, right? God source energy. So what they discovered was that from the ages of 4 to 5, we are operating at 98% of our creative genius, God source energy, higher self, higher consciousness. And from the age of 10, now by the time we turn 10, can you guess how much of our creative genius they were using? We are using 30% of our creative genius by the time we are 10. And guess what? It gets worse from here. Okay. So by the time we are 15, we are using 12% of our creative genius. And by the time we reach adulthood, we are operating at 2% of our creative genius. Right. So the first time I heard this was in this class hosted by, now they're called the Human Solidarity Project. At the time, they were called the Soul Focus Group. And the first thing I asked, I said, so you mean to tell me that the people who are operating at 2%, which would be the parents, the teachers, the coaches, the people who are operating at 2% are teaching the people who are operating at 98%? Right? So that means that we as adults are essentially teaching our children how to also be at 2% of their creative genius, right? So I was like, whoa, mind completely blown, and immediately felt like, okay, what can be done about this, right? Went on this long quest, a 5-year quest, to be honest, because that was in 2020 when I took that 2-day workshop. From there, I needed to understand, how do you get back to this 98%? How do you get back to this creative genius? And this is when my world started to flood me with so many experiences that taught me this. Because not only did I have this question around, like, how do you get back to the 98%? I also had the question of, why do Black people have worse outcomes and everything? What the question that preceded that was, why are Black babies dying at this rate? If you don't know my history, my work has been around maternal health, particularly Black infants who tend to die earlier, a year old. I mean, at least a year old. So I needed to understand, why was this happening? And how do we get back to this 98% creative genius? Well, that's what I'm teaching y'all. I'm essentially teaching y'all how to get back to that 98% of creative genius. And that has a lot to do with letting go of the conditioning that we have been taught along the way, by no fault of our parents or the adults in our lives, or anything like that, because that is just what we've been conditioned to do. But once you are made aware of something, it is then your job to do the work that's required in order for you to become the better version of yourself, the higher version of yourself. I don't know why I was born when I was born, and why I was put on this earth to do what I'm doing, but apparently I'm here to help people get on a path to wholeness, to happiness, to all of God's promises. And so my ministry and my teachings are around just that, is how to get to that place. And so I use a bunch of different tools to do that. I will use astrology. I will use numerology. I will use human design. And I will use the Bible. I will use just different sort of podcasts, books, a lot of different things to help you get back to that 98%. And I also use something called the map of consciousness as well too, which, if we were to, let me pull that up, because if we were to say that 98% represents our consciousness level, then here's what that would look like. Okay. So in the map of consciousness, can I put I might just be able to. Okay. So in the map of consciousness, think of this up here, enlightenment, as being Christ consciousness and the 98%. Most people are operating way down here. The like 98% of people are operating a survival paradigm right here, where pride, anger, desire, fear, grief, apathy, guilt, and shame exist. And that nervous system is sitting right here because it's the fear, anxiety, frightening, punitive. And the process is you end up withdrawing yourself because you live in fear, right? You have to break free from that fear. And the way to break free from that fear is you do have to become spiritually stoic. Like you have to be unshakable. You have to become a rock. And again, that has to do with your affirmations and consuming the word, whatever that word is. But again, the Bible is the best self-help book. Whatever it is that you need to consume that word, because you have to keep telling yourself that I trust, I'm well, all is well. There's nothing, I thank God I'm free of fear. You have to tell yourself things like that. Not tell yourself, you gotta say those things out loud. You have to affirm to yourself, because we have a conscious mind and we have a subconscious mind, right? And so what you are charged with is reprogramming that subconscious mind. Now I use this example a lot in terms of you understanding the subconscious mind. It's like, have you ever drove to a place and you look up and you there and you be like, Dag, I don't even know how I get here. Like, I ain't even remember turning down this street or doing that. That's your subconscious mind, because you've already been there before. So your subconscious mind is just running on autopilot, right? And so even though you might be consciously aware of something and you looking at something, you like, oh, I don't fear this, right? You still have some fear in your subconscious mind. Something in your subconscious mind is clicking and saying, we should be afraid of this. And you have to program your subconscious mind to say, no, I trust. I actually don't have any fear. But a part of breaking out that fear and that paradigm is not caring what people say or not caring what people think, being authentically you. And that takes practice and that takes time. And you know what? And you have to be around other people who are actually doing the same thing and who are putting it into demonstration. Or else, how would you know? How would you know to do that if you're not around other people who are demonstrating that truth, that there really is nothing, there's nothing to fear. And fear really does hold you back. Fear has its appropriate place. Fear exists so that you don't walk off the ledge and kill yourself. You know what I'm saying? If you're getting too close to a ledge, the fear kick in like, oh yeah, okay, I need to jump back. You know what I'm saying? But fear is not meant to hold you back from anything that you want to do in this life and that you are destined to do in this life. And if you feel yourself fearful of stepping out, because a lot of people, they won't step out because they have a fear of losing everything, but there's no loss in divine mind. You cannot lose anything. That's the illusion. That is the illusion. You will be taken care of. You will be well. And if you feel like things aren't well, they will soon come to pass to be well. But again, that is the trust, that you are trusting, that you have to trust, because you are worthy. You are worthy of protection, and you are divinely guided, and you are divinely protected. So we'll use this map, excuse me, we'll use this map a lot in the journey to 98% membership, which is what I want to talk about a little bit. And I'll have more on the journey to 98% next week, because again, I'll be launching that membership. And then next week's topic is, who am I? Who am I? It is the blueprint to the soul. And I'll talk about learning your soul's coding through astrology, numerology, and divine identity. This is to help you understand your purpose and your mission. I really do like having like interactive sessions. So, you know, bring some paper or a journal. You should have a journal. Get you a journal. For this class, you need a journal. Um, And this is around understanding your purpose and your mission. So we got 4 minutes. I'm about to close out with an affirmation, and then I'm going to do a final call to action. I didn't have anybody in the waiting room. Let me get back to YouTube so I can see what y'all talking about over there. I really appreciate y'all. Thank y'all so much for attending my soft launch of the Unite the Light, which is the metaphysical ministry. So repeat after me. I am a divine creator, fully aligned with God's will. I walk in truth, power, and limitless creation. I'm going to say that 2 more times. I am a divine creator, fully aligned with God's will. I walk in truth, power, and limitless creation. I am a divine creator, fully aligned with God's will. I walk in truth, power, and limitless creation. Next week, I said, topic is who I am, the blueprint to the soul. And my final call to action is if this resonated with you, invite someone next week, please, because this movement is just beginning, and share this. This should be on my Facebook. It'll definitely be on this YouTube channel. And God willing, I'll be sending out some clips. I'll have some clips of this. But thank you all so much for attending this. And I'm just looking forward to it because the time is now. So till next time.